Over the last few years, Lattafa has gone from a lesser-known Middle Eastern brand to the poster child of the cologne era. They're not the only ones doing it, but they've become the biggest, flooding the market with fragrances that promise niche-level scents at bargain bin prices. For some people, that makes them a joke, shortcuts, knockoffs, inspired buys. For others, it makes them a revolution, firmly putting high-dollar scent profiles into the hands of the people. But here's the reality. Not every Lattafa is a win. Some are genuinely impressive for the price, while others feel unfinished, thin, or flat out miss the magic of what they're trying to copy. In this guide, I'm breaking down 15 of their biggest releases, showing you which ones actually deliver, which originals they're chasing, and where they hit or miss the mark. Hey friends, Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Today, Lattafa is on the docket, 15 different fragrances. I'm gonna tell you guys what they smell similar to, whether or not they're a good clone, how much you can expect to pay, and also if there are other alternatives out there that you need to know about that might be better or worth checking out just in general to the fragrance that these are clones of. Every fragrance I'm gonna talk to you about is gonna be linked in the description below, and we're gonna start off with this one, Khamrah Dukhan. So this is gonna be one of the more popular ones out there, which also means it's gonna be one of the more expensive ones that we talk about here today. At discounters, you're gonna be finding this one usually, at least as of this video, around 34 bucks or so. And that's gonna be if you're shopping at discounters, and of course, each discounter is gonna have it slightly different in terms of price, so you might find it a little more expensive than that, depending on where you're looking. Also might find it a little bit less expensive. And I actually wanna tackle one thing here really quickly right at the beginning of the video, and that is fake Lattafas. Now, I wasn't sure this day would ever come, but apparently it has. Lattafa even has an area on their website where you can report counterfeit Lattafas. But I guess it's kind of part of it, right? Once something becomes really popular, you're going to have other people knocking the fragrance off, even if the fragrance that they're knocking off is a clone fragrance. So the reason that I bring this up specifically now is because you can actually find this fragrance right here listed on AliExpress and Shein for like $13. And I would be extremely hesitant to pick those up because they are overwhelmingly likely fake. And again, Lattafa themselves are aware of it at this point, according to their own website. There are counterfeits out there and they're asking people to report where they bought the counterfeits from. So yeah, be aware of that. If you're shopping at a well-known discounter like JOMASHOP, Fragrance Net, Fragrance Buy, Gift Express, Beauty House, all of these different stores, you're gonna be fine. But if you're going to like Shein, AliExpress, or if you find one on eBay for like 10 bucks, 13 bucks, new sealed, okay, all that out of the way, this fragrance right here. Basically, it's taking the Khamrah DNA, adding tobacco, adding smokiness, making it a little bit deeper, richer, giving it this kind of lace of incense through the fragrance, again, that little waft of smoke, and making it darker overall. So yeah, the simplest way to think of it, taking Khamrah, adding tobacco, dry resins, woods, that bit of incense, and really taking it and just pushing it forward a little bit stronger, darker, better projection, more longevity, more of a masculine lean compared to the original Khamrah. So that's kind of what they're doing here. Now the original Khamrah, that one's similar to Gisa Sava and also Angel Share from By Kilian, kind of in that wheelhouse, in that style. But a lot of people would say that Khamrah is to an extent its own thing, clearly inspired by those fragrances, but still enough of a twist that it was doing its own thing. So Khamrah Dukhan, basically just take that Khamrah DNA, darken it up, make it a little more masculine, stronger for sure than the original, really focusing on that introduction of tobacco. And this one is actually really good, and I wouldn't say there are any like direct one-to-one alternatives to this one. It's kind of like if you want this one, then you get this one. There are a boatload of fragrances out there that are kind of in the Khamrah style, so you can find a lot of things out there that are gonna give you similar-ish vibes to this, but not the same as this. So you could go something like Gulf Orchid Tobacco. Again, it's not gonna be a one-to-one with this, but it's in that overarching family style. You could also go with something like Royal Blend Nero, but that one is gonna be similar or more similar to Gisa Sava, not this one. So again, if you really want Khamrah Dukhan, that's what you want. Just this. The next one on the docket is Eclair. Now this one you can find for less, generally about $25, and this one is going to be a clone of Bianco Latte. So this has creamy caramel, warm milk, it's got honey, sugar, just a lot of gourmand sweet notes going on. It's sweet, it's rich, it's almost edible. A very good alternative to Bianco Latte, one of the best on the market, period, especially when you consider the price point. And a lot of people will tell you that it's almost identical to that fragrance. As far as alternatives, Zamaya has a decent one that you may want to check out. That one's called Tiramisu Caramel. All things considered, price point and everything else, this one though may be a better buy for most people. Next one up is Liam Gray, another really affordable one at discounters, around $20, $21, something like that. And this one is a clone of Gris Charnel by BDK. There is also an alternative called Francique 6355, also Gris Charnel. Both of them are very, very good. Some people prefer Francique 6355 and will say it's just a little bit smoother overall, a little higher quality, but this one is generally a little bit cheaper. So it depends on which way you want to go. If you want to go just the absolute cheapest, that's going to be this one most of the time. If you want one that does have a little more smoothness along the edges, you would check out the other one. So this one has creamy fig, black tea, very smooth sandalwood note as well. It opens up cool and spicy, and then as it dries down, you get more of that vanilla that comes out, a little bit of powder in the sandalwood. And performance-wise, it's pretty much on par for me with the original. So this one is gonna get you similar performance as far as projection and longevity goes with Gris Charnel. Now we've got a lot more fragrances to talk about, but before we do, I wanna give you guys some codes across a ton of websites where you'll be able to find Lattafa fragrances. So specifically here, I wanna point out Gift Express. They have fantastic prices on Lattafa, and you can use the code that you see here whenever you want, unlimited times on Gift Express to save yourself money. Also the Perfume Box, they have great deals on clone fragrances, and you can use that code as many times as you want as well. The JOMASHOP codes, you can use those only within the JOMASHOP app, so you have to download the app, then you can use the codes to save money there. And Fragflex and also Fragrance Lord, among all the other websites you see there, you can use those codes to save yourself money, and they typically will have great deals on clones and oftentimes designers and niche as well. Let's go ahead and do the other Liam fragrance, which is this one, Liam Blue Shine. Price-wise, pretty similar to Liam Gray over here, so probably not a big surprise. This one also about $20, $21. This one is a clone of Acqua di Gio's Profundo. Now, nowadays there are two Profundo eau de parfums. There's the original, which is what this is a clone of, and then there's also the new Profundo eau de parfum. Easiest way to tell those apart is just the bottles. So the one that's all blue, that's the original. The one that has a gradient, that's the new version. It has been a crazy few years with reformulations, discontinuations, and everything else. It becomes a little hard to keep up with for a lot of people. So with this one, it's gonna have that bergamot in the opening, citrusy, very fresh, a little bit of minerality in there as well, some aromatics from rosemary. Has a definite blue fragrance character to it, and by that I mean it's the type of fragrance that you can wear pretty much whenever you want. I know a lot of people hear Acqua di Gio Profundo, and they think, oh, summer during the day. And that's it. But no, realistically, you can wear it whenever you want, especially if you're spending most of your time indoors where it's air conditioned. At that point, it doesn't matter. Performance with this one is pretty good, especially for a fresh fragrance. Maybe not mind-blowing, but it's okay. Alternatively, there's also Très Nuit Lyric by Armaf, but I think for most people, this one is probably gonna scratch the Acqua di Gio Profundo itch a little bit better. Then there's also Azzaro Chrome Extreme. And that's not an actual clone. That's done by Azzaro, but it smells similar to Acqua di Gio Profundo. That one is also gonna be typically a little bit more expensive than this one, but if you wanted to go just maybe a little higher in terms of quality and also a line from an actual designer fragrance house, you can check that one out. Now a huge hype beast, Mahir Legacy, which is a clone of Parfums de Marly Sedley. You can get this one insanely cheap nowadays, about 20 bucks. I know that the bottle is kind of an abomination, really. This fingerprint mirrored magnet, strange, freakish, alien looking device with the horse's head super glued on top that also somehow looks too small and too big for the bottle at the same time. I hate it. It's awful. The scent itself though, people love. It captures that Sedley DNA at an extremely low price point. Bright mint, citrus, aromatics off the top, extremely fresh. A lot of people would say it's like an out of the shower type of fragrance. And the longevity overall, pretty good as well. I think that for most people, this is pretty much the go-to for a Sedley alternative. And honestly, at 20 bucks, you really can't beat it. The next one is something completely different. It is Eternal Oud. You can find this for about $25. It is a clone of Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir. Now there's also a Fragrance World clone, and it's just called Soir. And that one is a lot of times a little bit more expensive than this one. But for most people, if you're looking for, you know, just straight up a one-to-one, that one's actually gonna be a little bit closer than this one. This one has kind of a twist to it. Now it's still an amber vanilla fragrance. It has that going forward with it, but it also has this plum off the top, which is gonna be different than what you're gonna get in the MFK. So yeah, a lot of plum off the top, kind of a buttery, almost amber type of sweetness to it as well. It can be really addictive, great for an evening out. Strong performance here. This one actually lasts a very long time, hence the name, I guess, Eternal Oud, even though it's not necessarily an oud fragrance at all. More amber vanilla, like I said. So while I do think it's a good twist on the Maison Francis Kurkdjian, it is not the best one-to-one out there, so it really depends on what you're after with this one. Najdia Intense is the next fragrance. This one you can get for really cheap, about 20 bucks usually. And this one's gonna be an alternative to Paradise Garden by Jean-Paul Gaultier, Le Beau Paradise Garden. Now there are other alternatives out there, probably Hawass Tropical, gonna be the most well-known. And there's also another one Paris Corner has done recently called Cosmic Giardino. And that one is good as well, smells really nice, but it's a little more expensive. Actually, I think as of this video, it's like 60 bucks or so. So when I say a little more expensive, it's like 3 times more expensive than this one. Sharp mint, tropical citrus, coconut, not an official note in here, but you're gonna get that kind of coconut tropical creamy sweetness in here, much like you do in Paradise Garden. It's a fun, extroverted, warm weather fragrance. You know, good for spring, good for summer. The quality is nice, especially for the price point, 20 bucks or so. It does also get better with time. When I first got this one in, it was not quite as strong as it is now. It's not a monster off my skin, but it's, you know, it's passable. I will say Hawass Tropical is stronger than that. Hawass Tropical is probably more attention grabbing than this, and just overall is the better fragrance if you just put it up one against the other and you don't take price into consideration. But that one is more expensive than this one. So if you wanted to go budget conscious, then this is gonna be the best choice. If you say heck with that, you just wanna get the better one, get the Hawass. The next one is about as inexpensive as Lattafa gets. This one is $20. That's already dirt cheap. That is bargain bin, clearance bin, Walmart levels of pricing for an actual good fragrance. Nowadays, clone fragrances in terms of bang for buck are insane. Insane. I've said this before, but when I was like 16, 17, 18, if there was stuff like this quality, this is what I would have been buying, period. But the next one is cheaper still. $13. Sometimes you can find it for less. When I say that, I'm not talking about the Sheen fakes. I'm talking about just your average discounter is gonna be selling it for that price. Abiyedh Rouge, which is Baccarat Rouge 540. Now there are other alternatives out there that are better, but that are more expensive. Club de Nuit Untold from Armaf is one. Harmain Amber Oud Rouge is another, but both of those are gonna cost you more than this. As far as turbo budget dupes, this is probably the best one out there. Period. It has that same airy, amber woodsy, saffron, cotton candy-esque sweetness to it. It does open with a harsher alcohol blast when you first spray it on, especially compared to BR 540, but also compared to the other higher end clones. But once it dries down, it's warm, it's sweet, it's cozy, it's inviting, it smells great. And at this price point, it is way closer to BR 540 than it has any right to be. One thing to be aware of it though, it does not have fantastic performance. It's not terrible, it's just not great. Next up is the Kingdom, which is a clone of Le Mal's Elixir, and frankly, you've got about 50 of those to choose from at this point. Some of these are clones of fragrances that don't have as many alternatives out there. Le Mal Elixir has a ton. So this is about 25 bucks. You can also get Hawass Elixir or Rayhan Elixir. Both of those are Le Mal Elixir clones. You can also get Club de Nuit Lionheart by Armaf, the men's version, which is Le Mal Elixir as well. And then Samaya Modesh Aura, which that name doesn't fit in quite as well, but that's also Lamal Elixir. As far as my ranking of all of those, this one is probably more in the middle somewhere. Like, it's not the worst, but it's not the best. A lot of people gravitate towards Hawass Elixir because it is pretty strong. Also, Club de Nuit Lionheart is held in high esteem. Rehan Elixir for the price point is a great buy as well. That being said, this is still really well done. It has a nice mint in the opening. It has that sweetness that you would expect from a Lamal Elixir alternative. Although 1-to-1 with this one against the Jean Paul Gaultier, it is maybe a little bit fresher leaning, not quite as honeyed and rich and deep as the Jean Paul Gaultier. So it's a polished, wearable, slightly fresher alternative, and it does have very good performance as well. Probably the most unique bottle up next, His Confession by Lattafa. This one is kind of its own thing to an extent. Price-wise, it's gonna run you about $35. And this one is gonna remind you of a few different fragrances without being the same as any of them. The first fragrance it could remind you of is Black Tie by Celine, but that's not as well known as the other two. It could also remind you of like Dior Homme Intense or Gentleman Eau de Parfum. So you have a powdery iris in here, a little bit creamy as well, with nice spices, warm, sweet spices like cinnamon especially. As it dries down, warm vanilla, tonka incense, really classy, sexy, great for fall and winter time, but you do have to like iris because that's gonna be one of the main things here. Thankfully, I do, but if you hate iris, like in Valentino Uomo Intense, not Born in Roma Intense, but just the original Uomo Intense, or Gentleman Eau de Parfum, Narciso Rodriguez Blue Noir Parfum, Dior Homme Original, Dior Homme Intense, if you don't like stuff like that, you probably won't like this. If you do like stuff like that, you probably will like this. Art of Universe is up next, a hype beast. This one about $45, and this is a clone of Blue Talisman. And there are a few other clones out there, some of the other big ones, Maison Esrar Legacy and Tarothi Electric by Afnan. This one starts bright, fizzy, citrus, mint, really attention grabbing and sweet. Almost energy drink levels of sweetness. Now it's also fresh at the same time, so you get a nice balance, but it is a big blast when you first spray it. As it dries down, those fruits kind of meld with some floral notes in there. It takes off a little bit of that candied edge. And then as you hit that base, it's kind of a musky, amber, cedar dry down that works really well pretty much year round. With this one, even though it's playful and youthful when you first spray it on, as it dries down, you know, it does class up a little bit. So it's the type of scent that pretty much anybody could pull off. And it has great performance as well, especially for a fresh fragrance. It's a great release. I don't know if it's necessarily better than Maison Esrar Legacy or Tarothi Electric. They're all really well done and they approach it kind of different ways, slightly different ways. So with this one, I would look at probably all three, kind of see which one jives the best for you, but that one is really well done. The next one is called Suqraat. It's about $20. It's a clone of Acqua di Gios Profumo, which is unfortunately discontinued. There's also Jorge di Profumo, which is by Maison Alhambra, which is a sub-brand of Lattafa, so you can go for that one as well. So this one's very fresh, clean, easy to wear. It has citrus, it has aquatic notes, it has aromatic notes. The incense from Acqua di Gios Profumo, though, is toned down a little bit, so you're not gonna get quite as much of that in here as you are the original, unfortunately. It has enough performance to work well as a casual fragrance, an office fragrance, kind of a daily wear type of scent in spring, summer, early fall. It could use a little more push to it, could use a little more of that depth, that body, that texture, density the Acqua di Gios Profumo used to have, but nowadays that one's really expensive because of the discontinuation, and this is a pretty good alternative at a lower price. A newer release up next, Fakhar Platin, which is a clone of Y Elixir. Since this is newer, it's about $35. I do have to say, I bought my bottle from Lattafa directly, and it took like 2 weeks to get to me. Now they may have fixed that by now and they may be shipping these out quicker, but be aware of that. With a lot of these, you're actually gonna get it faster. This doesn't make any sense, but you're gonna get it faster buying from a discounter potentially than you will buying it directly from Lattafa. Go figure. So as I said, this is very close to Y Elixir, but this has a tropical twist to it. So they've added guava in here, a good amount of it. So it's gonna change up the opening in comparison to Y Elixir. So almost like they're trying to give it an exotic tropical twist. That's kind of how you can think of it. Now, if you want the closest clone to Y Elixir, that's actually gonna be Zamaya's Body Opulent. That is closer than this one. And you can probably find that one cheaper than this one as well. So if you want a direct one-to-one, get that one. If you want a tropical tropical Y Elixir twist, get this one. Fakhar Extrait up next. Ah, look at that. We got gold and we got platinum. That one's way cheaper, about 20 bucks, and that is a clone of 1 Million Parfum by Fakhar Black. It's not quite as strong as 1 Million Parfum, so be aware of that. Not that the performance here is terrible, it's just not quite as powerful as you might think with the name Extrait. It's solid, it's just not quite as strong as the 1 Million. That being said, it is really, really close as far as the scent profile itself to smelling like 1 Million Parfum, which if you're familiar with that fragrance, it's kind of a solar leather scent profile. So almost like sunscreen mixed with leather. This one is maybe not quite as sweet as that one, but it is splitting hairs to an extent because they're close enough that most people are not gonna care at all. But if you do care, a little bit more tuberose forward here than the 1 Million, and maybe slightly more mature leaning to an extent as well. Last up for this one is Fakhar Black. So we got the 3 Fakhars here lined up in a row. That one also about 20 bucks, and it is a Y clone once again, this one Y Eau de Parfum. So Y Eau de Parfum, 1 Million Parfum, Y Elixir. No real rhyme or reason, I guess they just kind of pick whatever they want. And for 20 bucks, this is actually a darn good clone of Y Eau de Parfum. Really, really well done. Probably the most well-known Y EDP alternative. Pretty good performance, versatile, all-season type of fragrance. It has that sweetness dialed in. Some people might actually say it's a little bit sweeter than Y EDP, the way that it hits off the top. Now, I do want to point out some people that have modern batches of this say that it's weak, that over time they've kind of like reformulated it and that it's not as strong nowadays as it used to be. I can't say that for sure because I bought mine years ago. I don't have a new bottle, but be aware that some people say, yes, it doesn't last. Other people will say, yes, it does last. So you'll hear both sides. Be aware of that. Alternatively, there's also Odyssey Mega Man, Mega Man by Armaf, and that's also a really well done clone of Y EDP, just as good as this one, if not better. So there we go, 15 Lattafa fragrances. I tried to give you guys a quick review, an overview of each one, alternatives, price points, everything else. I also have 2 other Lattafa clone guides going over 30 other Lattafas, so feel free to watch those if you haven't, and I'll cover more in a future video. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.